give a review one way or another, but
A lot of movies based on books aren't as good.
I think Aragon was the worst.
I didn't like the book to begin with, so.
Oh, okay. Well, I actually liked the movie better than I liked the book.
Ah.
Maybe because I couldn't hear Bella whine all the time.
Have you ever read over Metamorphosis?
No, I'm not a big reader.
Yeah, that might have been another Russian writer too.
Yeah, I'm not a big reader. You know, there's all this rave about ebook readers and whatnot, and I look at those devices and go like, doesn't do me any good. Because I'm not a big book reader. Most of the stuff that I read are data sheets, specifications, tech manuals and stuff like that. And even with those, I don't read, cover to cover. I just go for the sections that I need, depending on what I'm doing, the project that I'm working on and stuff like that. So I'm not a reader by, any standard, which is kind of interesting because I teach.
I didn't know what an atom crusher was, and it's a building science apparatus. An atom crusher? Have you ever heard?
Nope, no, I have not. Not a well-read person at all. Well, there are several exciting things, that most of you will just say, yeah, whatever. But it is exciting to me. I just, finished up my live DVD, except it's not a DVD anymore. I put the entire thing onto one SD card, a 2 gigabyte SD card. So I plug in the SD card and reboot the computer. It will boot into Ubuntu. That may end up Debian Linux. Okay, and I have a separate card, which is a compact flash card with more capacity, 16 gigabytes, to store the data. So now I only have to carry these two cards. One to hold the operating system, the applications and whatnot that I will keep changing every week or every 2 weeks or so. I just download and update it. The other one would be my user data, which is the only part I need to back up, because the other one can be reproduced, because it only has everything that can be reinstalled. And the compact flash card, the 16 gig compact flash card, contains all the data that I cannot reproduce from installing software. Okay. Yep. Question? Oh, okay. That's okay. So this is that's good, but even better is now I have the ability to actually do screen recording. Okay, with the voice. So this mic is now live. Okay, it's recording all the sounds in the classroom, and it's also capturing the screen at the same time. Okay, I can. Yep, go ahead.
Could you store that the same operating system on a USB flash drive?
Yes. In fact, I just have that. I mean, if you guys have a laptop here, you can try out. This USB stick, which I can not find. I didn't drop it somewhere. Doesn't have any use for data. Oh, no, that's my headphone. Oh, there you go. So one of my colleagues gave me a 2 gig USB thumb drive, which by today's standard is next to nothing. I mean, you can probably buy one for what, $5, $6, $8 or so, at the most. So this is big enough to hold the ISO image of the live DVD, and I just quote unquote burned the ISO image onto this this USB thumb drive. You plug this into a computer that is capable of booting from USB devices, and it will start up with Ubuntu or Debian Linux in this case, with all the applications already installed. In fact, it would look exactly like this with all the same applications that I have up here. Okay. Yeah. And there's no DVD to scratch up, and every time I have a newer version, I can update this, it's no waste, I don't have to toss anything into the trash can. And 2 gig is more than enough, at least for the time being. My distribution of the live DVD has been around 1.4, 1.5 gigabytes for 2 years already. I have not had the need to increase it anytime soon. So a 2 gig, USB thumb drive will do the trick just fine. Okay. So if anyone is interested, I can put it into Dr. Tech's cool stuff, to show you guys, how to do this. If not for anything else, it is good for rescuing a PC. Okay, if your PC or anybody else's PC is infected by viruses, or for some reason the operating system just won't even start, or you cannot trust it, you can at least start the system using something like this, or more conventionally, you can also use a DVD for older computers, and at least you can start with a clean operating system, go to the files, and I can actually do virus detection too. In other words, I'm going into the internal hard drive right now on this computer. So I'll go for certain files from certain users. These are all by employee ID, so I have no idea whose document we are dealing with here. Which obviously can be a little bit dangerous. So I'll go to take a look at, say, this particular database file, but I'm not going to change it. Okay, if I change it, it will be changed on the hard drive. Okay, but that's not what I'm going to do. All I'm going to do is to move it to trash now. I'm just going to scan for viruses. Okay, and it finds that this file has no infected files, or at least this file is not infected. And I can even show the detail. It is trying to do it now. It's still scanning right now. So it gives you a mechanism to start from an operating system that is probably either broken altogether, infected, or something you just cannot trust. Okay, but you can still retrieve the files and perform whatever operation that needs to be performed. If you have a PowerPoint presentation file on your computer, and you cannot start it up because somebody else logged into some questionable websites and the computer got infected, and you have a presentation tomorrow, you can use OpenOffice Impress to open up PowerPoint files. So you can keep working on the file. You can put the file onto a USB thumb drive and just take it away from the computer. So at least your presentation will be preserved. Or if you're working on an English paper or whatever, I mean, you can do a lot of stuff, with the concept of a live DVD. Yep.
My wife, she's an engineering major, and she lost a complete work, a file with all her completed work on there, and it vanished. She had it in her, I think her cruiser, and then as she was trying to go into it, it just disappeared. And should she have scanned for viruses? Should she have done that? Because I don't think she even considered that.
Well, if you're scanning for viruses, and it depends on how the virus scanner is set up. When you set up a virus scanner, you can typically set up a quarantine folder. In other words, if the scanner finds a file that is infected, it would automatically move it to the quarantine folder. So that way the file is no longer in circulation in the main file system, but yet it is not deleted. It is just being held somewhere else. So you might so the next time this thing happens, you might want to check to see if your virus scanner already has that already set up. And if it is already set up, you have to go find where the quarantine folder is, because all the infected files will be moved over there.
I need to learn how to do that.
Okay. Sure. I'm already thinking about making a class or adapting one of our classes here. So instead of teaching Microsoft Office Suite, it will be Open Office. It will be an experimental class. It probably won't count to any degrees or certificates here, but it will just be offered like once, just to see whether people are interested in how to use Open Office. Possibly some other open source tools. Any questions at this point? No questions? So the next question is, how do we know this screen recording thing is actually working? Just because I tell you it's working and things are blinking, like this is showing you that we are recording the frames and stuff like that, doesn't mean that it's working. So one thing I can do is to go to one of my other classes, one of the classes that met yesterday, like my cisc310 VB class. Well, this is also funny. I'm the substitution teacher for cisc310 because the instructor, Bob Irvine, had a surgery and he had to stay home and rest. So his evening substitution teacher also could not make it last night. So I became the substitute's substitute. And I asked the students in the class, I said, this has to be confusing because you have Bob, then you have Dan, then you have Tack, then you have Dan back, then you have Tack, then you have Dan again, then you have Bob back again. So isn't that going to be confusing? Nah, the student said, nah, it's fine, no problem. So that's how you can tell, it's a good class, because, the students did not get phased at all by the change of professors. They were just reading the content, they were doing the homework just fine. They were just chugging along, no problem. So anyway, this is in one of my other classes, and what I usually do is I use YouTube, okay? I put all the class recording, I have to chop it up, but I have a script to do it. In other words, I give my script a long video clip, like a class recording, which is 1 hour and 20 minutes, about 80 minutes. And it will chop it down to 14 minutes and 30-second segments, because YouTube has a limit. You can only upload up to about 15 minutes, which is already up from 10 minutes in the past. So my script will chop it down into part 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. In this case, there are 5 segments to it. But it will be pretty hard for a student to find, okay, here's part 1. Oh, now, at the end of part 1, where do I find part 2? So I use the feature called a playlist in YouTube to string all these together. So as far as students are concerned, they only have to play the playlist. So all they have to do is to click play all videos. And here we have a screen recording. And I can, this class, I will have a flash file, with everything, and that's including the audio this is stuff. Higher resolution. Let me double check on the audio stuff first. But if I think it is working, I think it is working properly. Let me just double check. Yep, it's all working. So this means that by the end of this class, I will have the entire screen recorded with my voice as well as everything that I do on the screen. So hopefully that will be somewhat helpful. Yeah, I know it. Now, of course, this is kind of interesting because the recorder is recording what I have recorded yesterday. So this is also an interesting case of recursion because for those of you who will go into cisc310, you will appreciate what recursion is. It's basically, for the trackies, it's a holodeck in a holodeck in a holodeck in a holodeck. Okay, for the non-trackies, there are other ways to explain it too. But anyway, I think this is a great tool. Not to encourage people not to go to a class. Oh, I can just listen to the YouTube or watch the YouTube, when I have time. No, that's usually not a good idea because what is lacking when people watch a YouTube that they usually can do during a class? Asking questions, very good, and interacting with other students. Okay, sometimes the ideas or the questions or comments are not from me. They're from other fellow students who are in the class and just actively participating in the class. I think that component of a face-to-face class is really hard to compensate for, with an online class. My wife, is taking online classes, from the instructors here, and she said, it's pretty much on her own. She's on her own. They have a forum, but the forum is mostly just for people posting, I have a problem. And fortunately, many other students are, eager to, to help out. Okay. Oh, okay. This is where you can get that particular option working. Blah 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 blah. Okay. But for the most part, it's not immediate for sure. Okay, you post something, you wait about half a day. Somebody may come back with a suggestion or something like that, but it's never immediate, like in a face-to-face class. So, as far as I'm concerned, I prefer face-to-face classes, as a teacher. Okay. Are there any questions about this whole thing? I mean, how the screen recording is working? Now, this is also a good lead-in to networking because what you are seeing here is the combination of many, many components working. And many of these components, I would say, 10 or even 5 years ago, people will be asking, what are you talking about? But today, it is actually a norm now. Okay, this is no longer, weird or, top-notch, technology. This is almost like commodity technology. So let me just explain